many things in life I, as a person, fear. Some of them are stupid things like clowns in the dark and fireworks, and some things are more rational fears like strangers and will I get into the good college that I want to get into? If I don't, I might cry. And then there's one fear that should be universal, but really is just kind of aimed towards one gender, and that's sexual abuse and assault. And that sounds like unrealistic, but if you think about it, when you hear about sexual assault or sexual abuse, it's usually a gentleman and a woman victim, or a girl victim, or a child victim, versus there are women who sexually abuse people as well. It's just less heard about, or sexually assault people, it's just less heard about, because it's not a publicly known fact that yes, women, although the weaker sex, they can assault, not just sexually, but they can assault in general. And I don't like generalizing things as in, or as if one gender is worse than another, because both genders are messed up. I have an older brother, I'm a girl, we know. There are different elements that are more likely to occur in different genders. For instance, men are more naturally driven to the hunter-gatherer, fighter, leader positions than women, although women do enjoy being leaders, and our brains and chemicals work differently. So, one thing I think that is very underrated is safety measures taken to prevent certain things like sexual assault or assault in general, or just these street smarts that people don't quite take into consideration that they may actually need to use one day. For example, my brother and I both have training for self-defense. My best friend got self-defense training. It's just all around, like, we know how to protect ourselves. We know how to shoot guns. We know how to spray pepper spray and mace properly so we don't affect ourselves. We definitely know to keep our phones on and charged and with us. My brother is not as good as at that as I am, but he's getting there. But definitely, safety measures are not taken as often as they should be. For example, I know many people, I live in a small area, so I know many people who don't lock their doors at night. Versus my family, we lock our doors at night whether we're here or not. We always lock our doors, and there have been break-ins around here recently. So we definitely have neighbors who are going, maybe I should get a gun, maybe I should lock my doors, maybe I should take these certain measures. Now, for sexual assault, I know men don't really think about it. From what I've gathered, I went to my local college, Santa Monica College, and I asked around, like, hey, what do you ever worry about being sexually assaulted, or do you know what you would do in a case where it seemed like you were going to be sexually assaulted, or just assaulted, mugged, jumped, whatever? And the gentleman honestly hadn't thought it through. Most of them anyway. I mean, there were a few, but definitely it was more among women than men that the awareness of the fact that it could happen was more prominent. So I went over to the men that I had gathered, and I asked them each, do you ever fear being robbed? And they were like, yeah, doesn't everyone fear that? And I was like, alright, I'll give you that. Do you ever feel like, do you ever fear being jumped or mugged? And they're like, yes, everyone has that fear. I'm like, not everyone, but sure, let's go with that. I'm like, do you ever fear being sexually assaulted or sexually abused? They all went completely silent and looked at me like I was crazy. And that proved to me, like, guys don't think about it as much as girls do. I went over to the group of girls. Are you scared of being robbed? Yes, of course. Everyone has that fear. Are you scared of being mugged or jumped? Yes, but I'm scared more of being raped. So where the guys were like, oh yeah, everyone's scared of being mugged or jumped or whatever, the girls said yes, they had that fear, but they had a deeper, more eminent fear of being sexually assaulted. I asked the girls, what safety measures have you taken to prevent any of these things? The girls all said, I lock my door before I leave. I never go out without a group of people. I try to stay with guys who are stronger and bigger and whatever, can protect me. Certain things like that. I always keep my cell phone with me. I have pepper spray, whatever it may be. I asked the guys, so you guys don't have the fear of being sexually assaulted, so although I know that anyone can be sexually assaulted. I pointed that out to the gentleman. I was like, well, now that you know that anyone in the world can be sexually assaulted, what do you think? And they're like, I'm still not that freaked out by it. And I was like, all right, I'll give you that. So what do you do to prevent being robbed? Or what have you done to take measures? Most of them, I lock my door before I leave my apartment. I got insurance, whatever the case may be. Well, what do you do in case of being jumped or mugged? I don't bring valuables out with me was a big one. Things like that. I keep my phone near me. I don't bring valuables, so they can't really steal anything but my phone. But the guys definitely seemed a lot more lenient with the ideas and definitely seemed more aloof to the thought of any of this actually happening to them. Where the girls had that constant fear. So, as much as it sounds like I'm pushing feminism, I'm not. I just feel like certain things are more, certain things are more connected in society with certain genders. For instance, sexual abuse. Most likely, if you think sexual assault, sexual abuse, you see a guy forcing a girl into something. Whereas it can be the other way around. Not usually, I'll give you that, but definitely the possibility of that happening. And then if you think shoplifting, you probably think more along the lines of a girl shoplifting like a necklace or a bracelet or a shirt or whatever the case may be. But I feel like crime doesn't really have a gender, so I don't like the idea of pushing anything as gender-based crime. So I don't think of sexual abuse as, oh, it's a man raping a woman. Or sexual assault, a man raping a woman. Or assault, or like domestic violence, I don't see a man smacking his wife. I see it, for all you know, the kid is hitting the parents. I mean, you never really know. So, unless you can walk a mile in their shoes, I don't suggest giving a gender to a crime. But I will say that from my experiences, that women are much more alert and aware of the fact that any of these things can happen and you kind of have to be prepared for them. Whereas gentlemen, although gentlemen are the stronger sex, they're not as bright most of the time. So I've realized when it comes to planning out strategies for safety, women are kind of the people to go to. If you need someone who's strong and manly, you should probably go more for a guy who could, say, protect you. I know I don't like going out at night without my boyfriend. I know He's like a foot taller than me. He weighs more than me. He's stronger than me. I don't deny that I am, in our relationship, the weaker of the two. But brain-wise, I'm probably a little smarter, at least for strategies and safety reasons. But I'm not going to say one gender is better than the other. I don't believe that. I think we all have our strong points and our low points. And it's one of those things you really have to consider. So gender-based crime doesn't exist, and you really have to take into consideration safety measures actually have to be taken, whether they're good, bad, mediocre. They should at least, everyone should at least have a plan.